Good evening, everyone. So in this video I'm going to show default programming that I usually go through for creating a new model on a new helicopter model on 18SZ and 16SZ. So first up, get the transmitter turned on, model select, new, say yes. Got our new model, hit the linkage menu, and servo monitor, don't have anything to do there now, hit model select, tap your new model, hit rename, and go ahead and put in your model name. Hit model name when done, and there's your new model, and it says it up there at top. Model type, you can adjust this. For most of us flying flybarless helicopters, we would select helicopter, and H1 is a swash type, which is a peer function. Servo Reverse, you'll find that throttle is reversed as we almost always do with Futaba, and you can also see the other channels and what they're assigned to. After Servo Reverse, endpoints, don't do anything in there unless a flybarless controller has to go through that kind of stuff. Servo speed, nothing to do there. Sub trim, don't usually use that with flybarless function. So there's a few things I usually turn off here. The trim switches, don't like accidentally setting those things. So I'll just go ahead and click on like T1, hit double dashes, and hit hardware select. And that disables the trim switches. Of course, if you're flying nitro, you might probably want to have a trim. You'd leave T3 on still. The other thing I do is channel 11 needle LS. I unassign switches that I don't want to use. That way I'm not surprised by anything. This is one of those particular things I do. Take that out. You can also see DG1 and DG2. DG1 is typically used by the CGY 750 in the version 2 firmware for bank switching, for condition switching, as it's called. I usually unassign it. Personally, I use a different method. That way, nothing surprises me later on. That's everything there for function. Next up, system type. This is where you select the kind of receiver you're going to link to, whether it's fastest, fast, or FHSS. Trim setting, don't do anything there. We've already disabled trims. Throttle cut. I actually use this. Of course, you can assign assign a switch for your throttle cut. You can use SB, set it. Yep. And then, of course, now you have a throttle cut. Or for nitro guys, you're likely to use SH. And let's set that. And you see animation when I move it. So now you see off and on. And that's where you hit the cut position, adjust it so it actually cuts the fuel on your nitro model, or puts a position in that your ESC wants to see. Don't use idle down settings, nothing doing swash ring. Stick alarm, I like having it beep when the stick goes to 50%. It's a personal thing. Timer. So this is where you have your timers at. Right now it's set for 10 minutes and it's going to count up. I like countdown timers. Let's set one for 4 minutes and count down. Set a vibration type 1. That way, if you can't hear it because you're around noisy models, things like jets, nitro helicopters or planes, loudspeakers. If you're flying with music on the background, set a vibration type. Also, a start switch one I commonly use is J3, which of course is your collective and your throttle channel or stick. And then for set, go in here, reverse it, and then hit on off. Gives me a little sliver where it turns off and on. And then you'll see, so I raise the stick up and down, and it turns off and on. That way, it'll always be on unless I'm on the ground with full negative applied, or if I'm doing an inverted punch out. Use inverted, but I wouldn't say I spend tons of time to really affect a timer at full negative collective. Function name, you can go in there and you rename your functions if you want. Sensors has to do with telemetry, as far as the active sensors you have. telemetry is where you also see items, or if you actually see the settings, the items it's recorded, for instance, voltages or currents, temperatures, that kind of thing. Telemetry setting, this is one that's common. It's defaulted over from other models, but this is settings I enjoy for how talkative the telemetry could be. As far as this alarm goes, the speech intervals, if you want to turn on logging, I have the switch set already. Trainer, if you're gonna do buddy boxing, warning settings, if you want to turn them off and on. User menu setting, this is where you go in and you can put things in the hotkey menu from home, and you can just hit the quick button on the right, and then that'll do that. Data reset, you can go in here and reset things about the model memory. Don't use that too often, but there it is. Next up is the model menu. Of course, it's a little helicopter. Of course, you see servo monitor there again, your condition select. I usually use idle 3 for doing like a rate mode hover on the tail gyro. Afterwards, I'll still leave idle 3 there, but I'll unassign the switch. And of course, you can go here SF and then hit your double dashes, and that'll unassign the switch. But leave it there if you want to enable it again soon. AFRs. This is where you do your dual rates and your expos. Typically I do them in the transmitter so I can adjust them per flight condition. First up, I usually do is change it from separate to combined, and that will combine rate A and rate B and expo A and expo B. Usually we match them on both sides. So hit combined, yes. I start out about -20 because that's what the CGY defaults to. And then after that, so if you do nothing else, then you'll have to go adjust this per condition. If you want to quickly set this across all of them, you can go in this page, hit group, and then you'll notice as I flip through the conditions, the expos are all the same. Fun part about this is ungroup it, go back to page 1, and that expo is set across all the conditions now for aileron, which is a quick way to get them all set. So that was aileron. Let's go do elevator next. Combine it, yes. Let's give ourselves a -20 expo, and then page 2, we'll group it. And you'll see that. Ungroup it. Come back here, and of course now it is same expo across all conditions. And next up is rudder. Combine it, yes. Let's set a value. And go here, hit group. Now of course it's same value across all of them. Ungroup it because I usually do. I usually set my expos per condition, and it will leave it that way. So now I have my expo set across elevator, aileron, and rudder. That's AFR. I don't do anything with dual rates. That's a way to use switches to make dual rates if you're trying to do a more complicated configuration. Don't do anything with program mixes. Flybarless controller typically don't like them. Pitch curves. Yep, you can adjust this as you see fit. Big thing to do here is your normal pitch curve has the left dial assigned, which would, you'll see, adjust it. Typically, if you're not doing like F3C specific hovering, you'll want to go ahead and unassign the switch and then activate the function. So inhibit it, and then I like to unassign the switch. That way I don't have any surprises later if I try and assign it somewhere or I accidentally turn that on. It does pitch curve. You'll see now when I turn the left dial, nothing happens. Next up, throttle curve. Go ahead and go to page 2. And take that from on to inhibited, unassign the right dial, and that's throttle curve. Another thing here, a lot of times we use flat throttle curves for electrics, and so I'll remove points to make it easier to program. So remove point 2, 3, and then 4, and so on, until we have just the 2 points at the very end. And then go ahead and set that. That way, if you want to adjust this, you want to adjust your throttle, you only have to do the 2 points and not all of them. Go ahead and do that for the others. I know, for example, on Castle, a lot of guys wonder what the setting they should have, because Castle says use 0, 30, 70, and 100. So the 30 on the 18SZ and 16SZ actually equals -40. Then I can just go through and do this. And then that would be my normal. And then there's idle 1. Let's set that to the 70. And 70 is actually +40. I'll go ahead and drop this one down. And then hit remove, flattening out the curve. And then, of course, idle 2, you'd make that the 100. So, and go through and remove the unneeded points. There you go, flatline curve. And that does your configuration when Castle asks for a 30, 70, and 100. Which equals -40, +40, and then 100. That's it for throttle. Nothing to do with an acceleration. Throttle hold, you can adjust this to whatever the throttle hold position needed by your ESC. That's all that's really there. Nothing doing swash mixing, nothing doing throttle mixing, pitch to needle, nothing, pitch to rudder, nothing, gyro and governor. If you're not flying nitro, usually nothing to do in governor, or if you're not using the CGY to do governing, yeah. Gyro, typically here's where I go to set your gains for your rudder and your aileron. Of course, you can just flip the switches and you'll see the values change. So like want to make the head, make it gain a 70 for your normal, and then for idle up 1, let's make it 70, idle up 2, you'll see go 70 again, idle up 3, let's make it 65. Just playing around. And that way, and then you see the gain on the hold is 50. There's no big reason you usually use rate 2 or rate 3 unless you want a more complicated setup where you assign some additional switches, for instance, if you're going to play around with gains. So that's all in gyro. That really is it for a default config that I'd use on a model. If you guys got any questions, hit me up in the comments. Otherwise, hey, thanks for watching.